Hey guys, Lance here. For any of you that have been following my build log videos, you guys would have seen that my water pump failed recently. That was in this case back here, the Corsair Carbide Spec 02. And I thought since I was draining the loop that I'd take the opportunity to do a few upgrades that I've been planning for quite a while, or I thought of doing in the future. So first of all, I got a new case. This is the Phanteks Evolv ATX case, which we can see is quite a bit bigger than this. It's also very heavy. The case empty is heavier than this whole build was, so it's going to make moving it around a little bit tricky. But anyway, this case I really like because it's got a basement which will keep the cabling nice and tidy, and also this up here, which is a removable tray or rack for a radiator or fans if you're not going with water cooling, which I think will help make the building a lot easier. The case has a quick release removable side panel, which I'll show you guys here. I've left it off for now because it has quite a lot of reflection. So we can just slide that on there, and that just clips in like so. But I really do like this case. I'll go through some more of the specs soon, and I'll also go through the other parts I've got for the build.
The Evolv ATX is a mid-tower with an aluminium and steel construction and supports motherboards up to 264mm wide. The case has a large side window and basement to keep everything tidy, and it supports 11 total expansion slots with 8 3.5-inch drive slots and 3 2.5-inch drive slots. The case itself comes with 5 3.5-inch and 2 2.5-inch brackets. Included with the case is 3 Phanteks 140mm PH F200 SP fans with support for 3 front, 3 top and 1 rear 120mm fan, or 2 top, 2 front and 1 rear 140mm fan. Water cooling wise, you can fit radiators to suit the fans mentioned, up to a 360mm radiator in the front and in the top for 120mm fan support, or 280mm radiators for 140mm fan support. In the basement there's a 3.5-inch hard drive mount which can be removed, and an anti-vibration water pump mount can be fitted. The maximum length graphics cards you can fit in the case is 420mm without the hard drive brackets installed, or 300mm with them installed. You can fit a nice big CPU cooler in here, with the maximum height CPU cooler that can be fitted being 194mm. This case is black, but it is also available in gunmetal grey and white depending on your personal preference.
Okay, so here are the other parts I bought for the build. Now I wanted to go with hardline tubing. I'm really getting into the water cooling stuff and I really wanted to give that a go. So I've got 4 tubes here of PETG tubing. So 19.5 inches or 500mm this is here. And this is 10 by 12, so 10mm inner diameter, 12mm outer diameter. And I've got, I believe, 12 fittings to suit for that. I also got some other fittings here. I'll quickly show you guys these. Now these are for a drain system, so I've bought a tap fitting there. Also a couple of male-to-male fittings, so I can use this Y piece off the pump in the basement, so that will go back into the loop, and off one will be a drain system. Because if anyone that's been following my build saw, I had a lot of trouble draining the system. This is the replacement pump that EK have sent me for the failed pump that I had. Now this is the old pump here, so what I need to do is open up this housing, take the heatsink off, and take the plastic housing off this and swap them around into this housing, and then I can mount this up in the case, and that should be all good to go. I've also decided that I wanted to go with some pastel coolant, sticking with the red and black theme of the original system with the ROG board. I've got some EK pastel red concentrate here. That should hopefully be enough. I am adding a couple of other bits that will mean I'll need a bit more coolant than the build needed before, as you can see here, I've bought a second graphics card, so that will mean there's a bit more capacity there, and I thought since I was doing that, I'd probably need another radiator as well. I wasn't able to get an EK radiator. I was hoping to stick all with EK, but I've bought an XSPC 360mm radiator, which will be going in the top of the case. We pull this out here. I still haven't opened any of this stuff yet, but it's reasonably thin. I was actually having a lot of trouble getting a 360mm radiator at the time I bought all of this. EK was sold out for several weeks, and this was the only thing I could find locally. I believe this is 35mm thick. But I think this with the 240 in the front should be okay for now. I was hoping to possibly upgrade to a 280 in the front, but I'll see how I go with this for now. This has a double fin design, and I don't know if you can see through that there. And it is also all copper to go with all the copper components from EK as well. I did check that as when I was doing a bit of research. There is some parts that aren't made the same or with the same metals, and they can react and cause issues in the loop. Now, of course, another Strix GTX 970, as I mentioned, which is currently in my temporary machine back there, chugging away nicely. And then I also bought EK do a toolkit for the hardline tubing. So in here I've got some sandpaper, I'm guessing for deburring the end of the pipes or hoses after I cut them, a saw and some noodles to put inside to get a nice mandrel bend. Well, I guess you'd call it mandrel bend. So there's no kinks or thin or thick spots in the tubing after bending it. What else do we have here? We've got another back plate, of course, for the second GTX 970. I won't open that just yet. It's basically just a flat black piece of metal with a Strix logo on it. It is very nice though. It covers up the PCB, keeps that clean, and also looks very tidy. We've got another 970 nickel plexi water block here. Let's open this up. Just, give me 1 second. Yeah, we'll just rip it. So in here, normal stuff, thermal pads, instructions, some hardware, and then there is the water block itself, same as my other 970 has, sitting here. So that will be quite nice, having those two in the system. I'm hoping with that in there I might get better 4K performance with the Dell monitor here. A lot of games I don't get the best performance at 4K with a single 970. They are still playable, but I think that bump will be quite nice, as long as the game has SLI support. The reason I went with two 970s instead of selling my current one and upgrading to something different is because two 970s running an SLI still seems quite competitive compared to a 980 Ti and other cards that are out there, and it's reasonably cheap. I also wanted to play around with SLI and see how all of that worked and have a bit of a tinker around. And this here is a serial terminal for connecting the two graphics cards. I went with this instead of using little bits of tubing because I thought it would be a little bit simpler. And I also don't mind the look of these. They do look quite cool, and I thought it would hold the cards quite solidly, as few of you might have noticed that in my previous videos that my existing graphics card had quite a lot of sag. So there's a couple of Allen keys, a couple of O-rings, and only one screw there. And then there is the terminal here. So we'll take a look. Now I'm assuming with this, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm assuming that the ends where the fittings go into on the GPU will need to be removed, and this will go between the two. When you're buying one of these, you do need to make sure that your motherboard spacing matches this, as there is two different kinds. So make sure you measure that up to ensure you get the right part. But that's all the water cooling parts that I've got for the upgrade. Sorry, mine went blank for a second there. But I also have two new hard drives to put in the system. This is a 960GB SanDisk Ultra SSD, which I think will be my main boot drive, or probably my main storage drive, to be honest, being just about 1TB. And then a Samsung 850 Evo 500GB SSD, which will be my boot drive, I'd say, for now. I do have other plans for the current Crucial SSD in the system, and I was hoping to get rid of the mechanical drive altogether, just for sound, and just because it's quite old, that drive. It's come out of an old laptop and I just used it because I had it. I am looking at getting a PCI Express SSD to put in the system, but they still are pretty pricey at the moment. But that's all the parts here, and I'll get in close, and I do want to start doing some building. I thought I'd cut this one off here, guys. The video's starting to get a bit on the longer side. It's already longer than 10 minutes. I'm sorry that not much too exciting happened here, but as you can see, I have started getting things together. So in the next part, which I'm hoping to release not long after this one, we'll have some building of the PC. Now I'd like to give a shout out to my friend Samuel Jones. One of my good friends has made some songs for me to try out, and that's what we heard earlier in this video. Keep an ear out for more from him if you liked him, and I'll also put a link to my Twitter in the description below, and feel free to check that out. I just post random stuff, not really much so far, but anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.